Hello, FishDuck friends. Welcome to yet another FishDuck one-on-one video podcast. I am, of course, Kurt here in Los Angeles, and joining me this week is Charles back in Eugene.
Hello, Duck fans.
See, every week we do these where we talk to either a former player or an outside expert, and occasionally we talk to some of our own, and we figured it's long overdue that Charles and I sit down and do one together. So here we are to talk a little duck sports as well as the website. Charles, first of all, how are you doing?
Doing great. We're all a little busy these days with all that's going on with the website, which we'll bring everybody up to date on. This week was kind of exciting. That the video that Josh and I completed, referring to the spring game, we have actually over 3,500 hits. This is on Tuesday, which is very good for us. We were linked by ESPN, which brought that about. And our thanks there. And it's nice to see that when you put 20 hours of work into a video that people do like it.
We should get into Oregon sports because you and I have discussed it several times now. We've had several articles on the site about it. There's never been a time like this in duck sports before, and this past weekend really added the exclamation point on top of that to prove that this is an unprecedented time. We had softball gaining a spot in the NCAA tournament, actually hosting a regional later this week. Baseball beat USC and remain in first place in the Pac-12. Who thought that baseball was going to be in first place, much less getting an NCAA tournament? And both the men's and women's teams won the Pac-12 track and field championships. We'll touch on football in a bit too, but I want to touch on what happened this past weekend because that is a trifecta of just amazing accomplishments by Oregon sports.
It's certainly a head shaker. With certainly the baseball men were predicted to be fifth or sixth in the conference, and are just playing super chemistry baseball right now. This last USC game was interesting in that apparently there was some squabbling going on with the third baseman. It got the team riled up, and George Horton liked it, and the team rallied back for an important win to keep that going. Right now, being ranked sixth in the nation, this baseball team has the opportunity, if they can keep this going, to not only host a regional, but perhaps even a super regional, which is the easiest path to Omaha.
And what's really fascinating about this year, not only were they not predicted to do much, but there's been a rash of injuries. And in fact, the predicted ace for the year, Christian Jones, is out for the year with Tommy John surgery. And they've had to do some shuffling in the lineup. You know, people may not recall, but now Jimmy Sherfy, who's the closer, we might as well start calling him Kenny Powers because he's far and away the best closer in the conference, if not the country. He started the year as a starting pitcher. In fact, he was named a Pac-12 Pitcher of the Week back in February. He had one game with 13 strikeouts.
Yeah, I believe he has 17 saves and is second in the nation in saves. And last night, a client and friend of mine was behind home plate and watching, and he was amazed as Sherfy threw only 11 pitchers to finish off 3 batters. Amazing.
Well, and on top of that, the productivity has really been astonishing. We had Aaron Payne was named back-to-back Pac-12 Player of the Week. He received that honor just recently. So it's been a round robin of talent, but guys who, to start the year, there were a lot of no-names. People were looking at it, not predicting a lot, and now there's guys that have become superstars over the course of just a couple of months. It's really been fascinating. I've only managed to make it to one game because I am in Los Angeles. I saw them play UCLA. But since you have tickets up there, you go to games quite often. So, what have you seen? What's made the difference this year compared to previous years?
It's hard to put your finger on it because they're hitting better in clutch situations. But even George Horton himself admits that prior teams had more talent. But this team is getting it done at the clutch situations. And I'm sorry, his name escapes me. A fellow who came in to replace and has done a wonderful job at leadoff hitter, and in fact replaced Altobelli, and did so well that Altobelli is now at ninth. Now that he's even come back into the lineup, went 2 for 3 in the last game. Nonetheless, they want to keep him in there and batting in the order that he is. It was interesting to see USC actually go ahead and load the bases. Go ahead and purposely an intentional walk our second baseman, and then who comes up to the bat but Aaron Jones? I mean, that's a tough lineup back to back like that. So it's a lot of fun to watch. Yes, and we've had wonderful weather this year compared to last year.
It's been interesting too. The Pac-12 is really one of the power conferences in college baseball, if not the power conference. What SEC is to football, Pac-12 is to baseball. Arizona State, Arizona, Stanford, USC, even Washington, and of course Oregon State just a couple of years won the whole the NCAA championship. It's a conference that's stacked with traditional talent in Pac-12 baseball. That makes the fact that this team has been injured throughout much of this year and still have retained the number one spot, have gone from unranked to number 6 in the country. It's really a remarkable feat.
6 teams are ranked in the top 25 from the Pac-12. That's I guess that's equivalent to what the SEC would do in football. Very impressive.
Absolutely. And on that same level, Oregon softball, I took a look the other day. They've played 23 ranked teams over the course of the year. They use the same RPI style, scheduling system that college basketball does, and they're, I believe, 8th in the country for RPI, and yet they're ranked number 12 in the country, and they're hosting a regional. That's taking place May 17th through the 19th, so this week. And Craig Pintons, the associate athletic director, tweeted that all students get in free. So they're eating the cost on that.
The women certainly deserve it. They have worked very hard over the years, and to be able to host a regional is just a great reward for them and for the students.
So the Diamonds were stellar over the weekend, and yet all eyes were on Hayward Field as the Pac-12 championships were taking place. And the track and field teams, the whole Oregon track and field program is just really on a whole other level from anybody else in the country right now. It's really a testament to Vinlanana. Certainly, it's Tracktown, USA. We're supposed to be good at track, but this is just remarkable. At the Pac-12 championships, the women's team they didn't just win, they dominated. They exceeded 200 points, which, whether or not you're very familiar with the point scoring system for track and field, 200 is remarkable. The second place team was around 120-ish, to give you an idea.
There were 3 women alone that scored enough points to outscore 7 other teams entirely. It's amazing.
Yeah, and there's been some superstars in it. Jordan Hesse, English Gardner, Rebecca Friday, Alex Kaczynski. Some of these names we might be seeing in the Olympics pretty soon, because Oregon track, it's like an all-star team at this point, particularly the women's team. They've been ranked number 1 in the country. They already won the indoor national championship. Now they have the Pac-12 championship. They finished 5th in cross country. A couple of weeks here, we might be seeing them win a national championship too.
Certainly, they're going to be one of the favored ones with LSU going into the NCAA meet. The men were inspired. They were a definite underdog to Arizona State going into the meet. Arizona State had some slips, and frankly, we had a number of men that just came through in a big way at clutch time. It was great to see a Krauser winning a Pac-10 or Pac-12 conference title again.
When the dust finally settled, the women had won their 4th Pac-10/Pac-12 title in a row, and the men won their 6th Pac-10/Pac-12 title in a row. That's just, even by Tracktown USA standards, that's remarkable. But what's really interesting about it, and we've seen this more and more over the past few years, is that football players are participating in the track team. And I talked to a lot of former players, as you know, guys like Derek Deadweiler and J.J. Burden and Ronnie Harris and Patrick Johnson, all of which played football and ran track as sprinters at Oregon. And they've spoken to me multiple times about the importance of track in becoming a better, faster runner, learning proper technique of, fundamentals in actual running that can help apply to the football field. So to think that Dior Mathis, B.J. Kelly, and DeAnthony Thomas, 3 of the fastest guys on the team regardless, are now participating in aspects of track and field, that should make them only faster, better athletes. That's an interesting prospect. Yeah.
Scary. We love it.
DeAnthony, he hadn't run track since his junior year of high school. And when he ran in the Oregon Relays about a week ago, he was named the Pac-12 Athlete of the Week for what he did in the Oregon Relays on the track, for having not run track in 2 years.
We're going to have an impressive relay team made up of football players next year. My understanding is that the Marshall kid out of San Jose, I can't recall his first name right off the bat, ran a 10.6 recently at a track meet. And so certainly we're going to have a lot of speed on the field this next fall. I get back to it's a golden age of Oregon sports. That between what we're seeing on the football field, what Dana Altman is building on the basketball court, this incredible run of spring sports, it's just a golden age of Oregon athletics and something that you can't take for granted. Being a veteran observer, I've learned that you just bask in it and enjoy it as you can. These things are very special.
You'd heard some other news as well, right?
Well, I had heard rumblings that one of the assistant coaches had commented that being around a very long time, that this was the strongest and fastest team going into spring he'd ever seen at Oregon before. He also commented that the senior leadership, that the Brandon Bears that had tutored these players through the years into being a leader now have stepped forward, and the coaches don't have to do as much in the past because apparently many of the seniors are stepping forward and applying discipline among the team, among themselves, making certain that players work hard and follow their routines and workouts. So it's great to hear. I personally was delighted with a lot of what I saw in the spring game. I made reference to it here in the last video. I never thought I'd say this, Kurt, but we're deep at defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. It's hard to say that after so many years of lacking that depth. And I was just amazed. Now, I knew going in that Jared Ebert was known to be a very fast player, but it sure looks like in his redshirt year that he really took Coach Az's techniques to heart, because he certainly made a lot of great plays in that spring game. I detailed 3 of them. There were more.
It's interesting because recruiting often is very cyclical, or at least as far as what fans pay attention to. There was a time there where Oregon couldn't land a linebacker to save their lives, and people were just complaining, please, can we just sign any linebacker? Then it was defensive tackle, and it wasn't that Oregon wasn't signing defensive tackles, it's that they couldn't qualify. There was Miles Wade, there was Thompson, there was Simi Feely, just one after another of guys that we thought would be the savior of the defensive line. Oh, sorry, junior college is where they're headed because they can't qualify. It's nice to not only sign top talent, but to see them show up in Oregon jerseys. And you're absolutely right. When we watched the Oregon spring game, there was a lot of rotation. There's a lot of big bodies that, the knock is always, oh, well, Oregon's small and fast. No, they're big and fast. Right.
Everybody was looking at Armstead. Meanwhile, Tony Washington has really improved and blossomed at the drop-in spot. Look out for Isaac Remington now. As you know, going into a senior year as a JC, how much they improve. It was just exciting across the defensive line, looking at the depth, looking at the talent, looking at the technique of what they were doing. So I was considering that, as well as at receiver. I'm feeling much better now when I think Stanton has a real opportunity to make an impact, as I mentioned in the video. Certainly with Vaughn, Stanton, DeAnthony Thomas, we need one more among the freshmen to emerge. We saw that B.J. Kelly certainly looks like a great candidate for that. Maybe it could be Addison. But the rumblings going around have to do with Huff moving running back. Mm-hmm. It cannot be absolutely affirmed, but there had been strong rumors that, in fact, he was operating at the running back position. Certainly some of the old coaches that I talk to within my network, they've told me for years now that Huff should have been a running back from the very beginning. Not necessarily, not when you have LaMichael and Barner in the backfield at the same time. But now adding Huff to the formula, along with Marshall and Barner, of course, this could certainly make it easier for DeAnthony to get out there and be a taser and catch more passes, since, number one, they can't cover him, and he catches wonderfully when the ball is delivered. So I just get very excited about what we have happening, even if Huff were to move to running back. The thing we got to remember also is I truly believe that the quarterback this next year is going to take part of the running load as well. Mm-hmm. Now, we really did not get a good indication of that in the spring game. We know what Brian Bennett can do. Remember, he came in the second half of the Arizona State game, the second half of the Washington State game. Most people forget that Darren Thomas was benched the second half, and Brian Bennett came in, scored the points, won the game, and he played the entire Colorado game. Brian Bennett runs the zone read as good as any quarterback or better at Oregon. Consequently, the question now is, we really didn't see what Mariota can do with the zone read. His high school tape looks very impressive, but it's not real combat yet. So the question becomes, when it comes to the entire package of what we're doing with our offense, can Mariota run the zone read as well as Bennett? And that's going to be a big factor in who the starter is.
And we've added a section to be able to support FishDuck.com. We've added a PayPal button, and if companies are interested in advertising, we have information about that as well. And please do contact us if you are interested.
We have excellent numbers for an advertiser to look at, not only in the Northwest, but actually on a global basis as well. So we would love to be able to give you some quotes. The site isn't free. We do need to pay the bills, but on the other hand, too, we have something very good to offer in terms of our visitor counts and numbers.
And we are looking for volunteers, so if you think you have the chops to be able to write for FishDuck, or create videos, or edit videos, be involved in social media, or other areas where you can volunteer, please contact us.
Very good. We are looking for sports media and coaching site media as well. Help in those areas to help maintain contact and interact as well.
Terrific. Any final thoughts, Charles, on everything that's going on in duck sports right now?
Oh, how we love to learn about our beloved ducks.
And I will finish with go fish, get hooked, go ducks.